Hi, Misha here, and I have yet another Swiss SiG AG gun, and I've been talking a lot about them on this channel. One thing, Jay and I both do like them and own them, but also they're one of the few things coming into the country right now that interest us. Things have been pretty slow, you know why, in 2020. Now I have a new gun here, and it's not so much that it's a complete gun that came over from Switzerland as you see it. Now this is one I'm put together, customized for myself, based on what I was wanting. So I bought parts and used parts that I had to build this up. And I kind of thought this would be a good chance to talk about some of the various parts and options made in Switzerland by SiG, then SAN, now SiG Sauer AG, and imported by once JDI, now SAN Imports, or Swiss Imports. Yeah, still Dave. So yeah, I thought we would kind of go over the options and the different parts and how and why I assembled this gun here. But first, let's run a few rounds through it at the range. 553 SB. Open. Funny how it works better now. Alrighty. Now, of course, some guns are just imported as is. But one thing that JDI has, for at least their 553, is a sheet. You can essentially custom order, have a gun custom built by selecting several options. That's not exactly what I did, but the concept is the same. So, the first step, let's talk about the upper. Now, for a 55X gun, be it one of the US SiG 556s, SiG 551A1s, a pre-ban SG550, one of the Michael Machines 551 SWATs, or any of the modern guns, the upper is the firearm. The lower is not. Just something I wanted to make clear. So this is a conversion kit, as it's known. And this comes in as an upper assembly. It just is in the typical case in a plastic bag, and that is about it. Now what a conversion kit gets you, so I'm going to try to close it, is a complete upper, stamped steel. It will come with handguards. It'll come with a complete barrel, including any muzzle device. It'll come with a complete gas system. It will come with your iron sights, whatever they may be. And it will come with your gas piston and gas tube. And rail on top. What it will not come with is the lower or the bolt carrier and charging handle. Now in theory, like an AR-15, any bolt carrier charging handle should interchange between any of the Swiss guns, maybe even American guns. But in practice, it's never a bad idea to be doubly safe and check your headspace. Now this upper, I had 2 conversion kits come in, and these are a little unique. Most of the conversion kits, if not all, will be black, metal with black handguards. This one, as you can see, is gray with the OD green Swiss handguards. It has the pick rail. It has the flip up rear sight with ambi sling swivels. This is a 553, so it's the short commando length gas system with the polymer handguards with the vent cuts in them. I always find that a fun thing that they make 552, 553 handguards by cutting down 550 STGW90 handguards. That just always tickles me. It has the flip front sight, and it has the standard 2-way gas valve, standard and adverse. And it does have the loop under the gas block, which originally was for a bayonet lug, but this barrel's too short anyway. But with newer guns, there is a secondary use for that we'll talk about in just a minute. So this is what you get. Ready to have a bolt dropped in and then be placed on a lower. This is imported as a pistol, hence the name on the side. So you'll need to observe all NFA stuff. Again, this is the gun, so if you want to SBR it, you will need to register this. Now you have several barrel options for the conversion kit. You can get a 553 type, so commando length gas system. You can get a 551 type carbine, or you can get, on rare occasions, a 550 type, which is the full length rifle. The full length rifle pretty much just comes in one length, 20.8 inches. As far as I know, are single piece barrels. The 551 you can have in an SB or an LB. The LBs will be single piece as well, so 17.8, including the integral flash hider. The SBs can be 14.3 with integral flash hider, or there have been a handful of 553 SBs with a removable flash hider. With the flash hider screwed on, they're again about 14.3, but with it unscrewed, that means they're more around 13 inches. For the 553, again, you can have SB, which is 8.9 inch barrel with a removable flash hider. All of the SB 553s I've seen are 2-piece barrels. Or you can get a 553 LB, which can be a single piece barrel, 13.6, 13.7 with integral flash hider, or you can get a 553 LB 2-piece, which has an 11.9 inch barrel and a removable flash hider. Some other barrel options: you can have a 1-in-7 twist, so NATO standard, or a 1-in-10 twist, Swiss standard. The 1-in-10 would be a -1, and the 1-in-7 would be a -2. And one final thing, for the 2-piece barrels, they can either be threaded 1/2 by 28, which is the most common today, but some like this one can come in threaded 14 by 1 left hand. 1/2 by 28, as you know, is standard AR-15 and many other guns today. Well, 14 by 1 left hand is standard AK. And these are getting increasingly rare. And actually, because a couple of 14 by 1s came in, is what inspired me to do this. So that's a little bit of a rundown of conversion kits. Again, the same options exist if you want to custom order a gun from SAN. With that, let's move on to your lower receivers. Alright, so here we have more options. You have the traditional stamped and welded, which can come in black or gray. And you have the modern alloy, which is, as far as I know, kind of in this charcoal black. They might start coloring the alloys, but I'm not sure. The stamped is kind of popular because of the classic look, but it is heavier and a little more time consuming to produce. So very recently, the Swiss Army has authorized for its own use the new alloy lower. This is machined, and it's kind of funny, in a lot of areas and times people would prefer a machined piece of metal over a stamped and welded one. But in this instance, a lot of the traditionalists like the, well, traditional stamped. But yeah, the newer alloy is machined, and it's a little bit dimensionally larger, like in the hinge here, to just give it a little more meat, a little thicker back here for the recoil area, just to ensure that it's plenty strong. And this one takes standard Swiss mags. It's known as a CH, abbreviation lower. Has your rotating trigger guard, adjustable trigger stop, so on and so forth. This one, as you know, is actually the US or NATO lower that takes STANAG, AR-15, M16, M4 mags. Cool. This was not something they did for the US market specifically. This was actually for military police export. I bet you can guess why. It has an ambi mag catch, still features the bolt hold open catch, still has the pivoting trigger guard, I apologize, hinge down trigger guard, so it's different than the pivoting, but the effect's the same. Both are accessible for winter gloves, and the internals are pretty well the same. As for the pistol grip, there's pretty much just the one type with storage compartment. Of course, colors can vary, including traditional green and black. And of course, finally, we have the buttstock. This one here has the traditional fixed stock. They also folds. Maybe. It's also very tight. And it's one that people often like. But more recently, military and police users have gone to this stock that, while it still folds, it also now can adjust its length of pull. It's not a crazy large amount of adjustment. It has 3 positions, really just enough to kind of accommodate body armor or a few smaller stature individuals. I actually like this stock quite a bit, but a lot of people still prefer the traditional, and cool, each to their own. Now, full disclosure with stocks. If you plan on attaching one, it needs to be to a rifle, so 16 or greater barrel, or a registered SBR. If you don't want to do that, no stock, but SiG does offer this. This is effectively marketed as an arm brace adapter, But in Europe, it's actually sold so that one of these can use an M16 M4 stock. It goes right in the hinge in the back, still folds, and has a spring-loaded catch, and is threaded in the back for a tube. It even comes with a roll pin if you would like to fix it in place. And it's typical Swiss high quality. So that's an option if you'd like to attach an arm brace as well. Well, with that, let's move on to some more options, accessories, and features. If you go for the US or Stenag lower, you can use virtually any AR-15 mag. If you go for the CH, the Swiss lower, you will need to use SGDW 90 PE90 mags. Of course, you can use the traditional 20s, but over the last 20 years, Switzerland has really transitioned over, especially for export, 30 rounders. You can get them with the studs on the sides for coupling them together, or you can get them without the studs. You can't couple them, but the benefit here, they go into a lot more different types of mag pouches, because these studs do make them wide. And even if the pouch is wide enough, they do tend to catch, especially this side here. So the stud concept is neat. Oftentimes, the smooth side is more practical. And as I've illustrated in other videos, they have slots in the top to work with stripper clip guides. And Switzerland makes both NATO standard clip guides and their own Swiss clip guides. So there's actually two different types of guide. Well, to complete our look at furniture, let's check out some of the handguard types options. Here is the traditional 5.52, 5.53 handguard. Like everything else, they can be had in black or green. Again, they are literally cut down 5.50 handguards, hence the start of the notch there. And then they do drill these 5 vent holes in them. Light, actually very durable. They have some give to them. Also, as you see, the handguards lock to each other. It's 2 pieces, but they stay together very well. They come apart for cleaning, what have you. Now you'll notice that there are holes drilled in the bottom. This is something they started doing some years back, so that if you like, you can mount rail sections. So here's this handguard. It's actually the same underlying plastic polymer handguard, but now it has 3 rail sections bolted to it. Slightly longer bottom rail and 2 shorter side rails. And they're made of metal, but since the handguards are polymer, it's not too heavy. Notice how the bottom rail kind of goes offset to go with the handguard. Pretty thoughtful, but it's Switzerland, of course it is. And then we have our final one here. And this is the B&T Burger and Tomat, or Burger and Tomat quad rail. Now this is all metal. It is made out of alloy, and it is skeletonized, but it is still quite a bit heavier. Now on the 5.53, it's not that much heavier, but if you go to the 5.51, it can really add some weight. Notice it still has the latch stud for a stock top rail. It is 2 pieces too. And remember I said that the loop for the bayonet has a secondary use. Well, on an SB, you can't use a bayonet. But these handguards have this protrusion in the front that goes around the front handguard cap. That's why it's inlet. And then it sticks in to the tip of the bayonet lug. It's just one more mounting point. I'm not going to say these are 100% rock solid, but for attaching a foregrip, light, or even a laser for close use, they're sturdy enough. Although, for an optic, especially a magnified one, I would suggest still using the Picatinny rail that's welded to the gun. And really, if you want to go lightweight, just the standard handguard really is the best. If you need rails, this one's a good compromise. And this one really does add weight, so unless you need a full quad rail, I'm not sure I'd go that route. Plus, each of these adds additional money to, let's be honest, what is already a pretty expensive gun. But there are still a few other options you can add on if you need them or just want them. Next, let's talk about gas systems, or rather the gas regulator. The standard 553 regulator has 2 positions: regular, normal, and adverse. Adverse is a slightly larger port. Or you can upgrade to the 4-position gas regulator. It has the 2 normal positions, 2 standard positions, plus it has a fully closed position and an even smaller port for use with a sound suppressor. It's very easy to use and manage. But that's for the 553. If you look at a regulator for a 551 or 550, like this one here, you'll notice it has these little prongs on the end. These were removed for the 552 and carried over, being removed for the 553. Really just to make it easier to mount a sound suppressor, or just not to have something at the very front to catch and to make it different, because port sizes change. For 553 SB, 553 LB, 551 SB, 551 LB, and even 550, the port sizes will change because you have different dwell times and all that good stuff. They might overlap, but they will change. And, moreover, the twist rate, 1 in 7 or 1 in 10, matters. Typically, the 1 in 10 guns will have ever so slightly larger port sizes. And for example, a 551 SB will have slightly larger port sizes than a 551 LB because of the added distance between the muzzle and the gas block, the gas port. And if that's not confusing enough, Switzerland is known to tinker and change over time and as they feel things are better. So just because one set, this is how they do it in say 2000, in 2010 they might have adjusted the gas port sizes a bit, and then 2020 adjusted it again. This is a very modular component. It can be taken out and installed with no tools at all. And it's very easy to tell a 4-way from a 2-way here, because the 4-way has that recessed portion. When it's up, you're in your normal positions. When it's down, you're in suppressor mode. And again, if you go to other guns, larger guns, you will use a different gas regulator. Of course, your piston size and length will change as well. Well, let's move a little further forward on the barrel. If you get a 1/2x28 threaded gun, it will come with a very standard A2 looking birdcage flash hider. Very practical, but a little boring. Now, it is also worth saying that modern Swiss military guns with the 1/2x28 thread can be seen with the Surefire prong device for attaching a Surefire sound suppressor. But if you go back a ways to the 5.52 and the earlier 5.53s, things get a little more interesting. We get to the Berger and Thomat so-called Rotex flash hider. Here's two variants. This is the earlier 5.52, 5.53 style, smooth with 3 prongs. And these are threaded 14x1 left hand. Here is the slightly newer style, still 3 prongs, but now it has ribbing and, more importantly, wrench flats. Why this did not have wrench flats originally, I don't know, but I definitely like this style better. So here are 2 prong flash hiders if you go 14x1 left hand. And these, of course, would only be for the 2-piece barrel, so on the 5.53 SB. Although I have seen one 5.51 SB that did have one of these on it, but I think that might have been more of an anomaly than anything else. And here is our standard cleaning kit. In the SGGW 07K video, I take one of these apart and show you what's inside, so I'm not going to do it here. But if you get a conversion kit, you won't get one, and if you want, you'll need to buy one. You also won't get a magazine with the conversion kit. With that, let's run a few more rounds through my recent construct, and then talk about some of my final decisions with it. 5.3 SB, now with steel.
Fling some shell casings.
5.53 SB, one last mag. No surprise, test firing went perfectly. But nothing can be taken for granted. Everything has to be tested. Even the best guns, the best companies do make mistakes. And considering this is one that, while the upper was assembled over there, I did add the lower and the bolt group myself. I also added this arm brace that I made a long time ago by basically grafting this part onto the IWI brace. This is before you could really get the adapters, and I've just stuck with it because they're very easy to take in and out. And it's a badge of honor to me on these guns to get that nice stuff behind the ejection port. I know some people put duct tape or whatever there. I'm gonna laugh when in years to come when they go to pull their duct tape off and it just takes the finish with it anyway. No, while I would not want a scratch there that was done through neglect, when it's through honest use and service, I think it's just part of the gun. So a few things that I decided to do and why. I went with the alloy lower. Actually, one of the reasons I went with the conversion kit upper is I happen to have this spare lower from my 551 LB, which usually has the NATO, the Stanag lower on it, but I could always flip that and put the Stanag on this. But I like having the alloy lower on this because it keeps the gun light. It's already very small, very compact, but now it's quite a bit lighter. The same reason I went with the very basic handguards. They just save so much weight, and since it's a pistol, can't really put a handguard on it, or hand grip, vertical grip. I don't really feel like SBRing it, so but I need with the lighter laser. One thing I did do, and you've seen these on my other guns, I did put Swiss diopters. These are clamp on. And the tool to remove them, the wrench, is in the pistol grip here. The front is easy enough to put on, and it folds to be out of your way. It easily folds up if you need it. And is windage adjustable. As much as I actually like the early 552 looking flash hider, I do think the modern one's a better bet. And it has the 4-way gas regulator, just because I think it's a neat feature to have for a 553. With that, things like these should be shared. Let's give Jay a shot, and then we'll come back for some final thoughts. Jay with the 553 SB. What ammo was that?
This is just a Wolf 55 green steel case.
Sacrilege. As you know, any gun that I plan on keeping gets a sling. This is a traditional one in green. The earliest 55X slings had the curly cues. Then they went to these HK looking snap hooks in the 90s. And they do these in black and green. It's a nice sling. It can be easily expanded by just unhooking from itself. Where's my hook? Ah, there it is, right here. You just unhook it, very neat. And then there's a very easy adjustable buckle. And there's also a single point sling that you can see in my STGW07 video. But for this one, like my previous 553 SB, I have what's called the tactical sling. It's made out of a little wider, but very soft and flexible material. It's got a little cup in the back. Another one up here. And it has a QD buckle to expand it. And then it has a snap hook. So it's modern without being uber modern. Pretty simple. I do like running the newer smooth mags in these. They're just a little easier to use at the range. So what I really went for here was a 55X gun that could be as small and light as was practical. And when these conversion kits came in, what really got me interested was the 14x1 threading and the 1 in 10 twist rate. And I've double and triple checked both boxes, the plastic one it came with and its case, say 553-1. It's a little unusual. The other one up here, its kind of companion piece says 553-2. But But since I have a SG553 PE90 and 1 in 10, I thought this would be a nice companion to it. For 1 in 7, I have my 551 LB, which has kind of become my NATO gun. It has the NATO bayonet lug and a Stanag lower, so it having 1 in 7 I like. But yeah, this is a very traditional Swiss. And that's kind of what I've gone for here, is an early SGGW 07K, or even maybe a 04/07, so a 552 SB that was updated to 553 in Swiss Army service. And I've just kind of made it a keep it simple mantra with the iron sights, no real gadgets attached. And to me, and I think a lot of us, for a commando, having this 3-prong is just so iconic. And as many point out, yes, it rings. That's kind of what 3-prongs do, but that just tells you it's actual forged steel. And thanks to it and the 4-way regulator, I could, if I want, eventually mount a suppressor on it. And she folds up pretty good for storage. If that's, you know, how you want to go. If I can get this going, there we go. So a pretty tiny little package for 223. And while a lot of 223 shorties, 5.56 shorties, tend to be a little ammo sensitive, meaning they like the warmer stuff, or at least brass case, this guy here, it doesn't care. We tried 63 grain, GP90, 69 grain, Swiss. We tried 55 grain, both brass and steel. It ate everything, and the bolt held open every time, so it's getting plenty of gas. The build appears successful, so I will call it a go. And the reason to do a conversion kit like this is to either do a custom gun, or also, if you're like me and already have parts, the lower namely, it's a good way to save money, because these are about $2,000. A lot of money, but when you consider buying a full gun is around $3,400 right now, you're saving about $1,400. Now, if you go to buy the lower and the complete bulk group and everything, you're not really saving anything. But again, if you already have those pieces, why not? I like it. Plus, gotta be honest with you, after the SGGW 07, the 553 LB Army, I have to make some economy budget cuts in a few areas, and this was one of them that allowed me to save a few dollars. But it's a neat gun, and while as my previous 553 SB was on a steel lower, this one, using my alloy, really does save some weight, and I do like that. And she do run good. Appreciate you tuning in. I know there's been a lot of Sand Swiss content lately, but again, it's just kind of what's available. If HK or Steyr, or even better WBP or FB Radom, or Zastava USA, or Arsenal, or even Century were importing neat stuff, you know we'd be showing it too. But these guns just happen to be what are coming in at the moment. But fingers crossed that the future might be interesting and brighter. I mean, hopefully after 2020 we'll all do a little bit of good luck, right? Well, appreciate you hanging out today. If you do have any questions about Swiss components or parts, if I can answer them, I will. If not, happy to pass them along to maybe someone who can. As always, if you could, like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to help support the channel, please check out the link to our Patreon page. This is Misha, and Jay and I both will catch you very soon next time.